Well, hello there. So you want to take macro photography, do you? But the biggest secret I've discovered in my recent days of trying to do macro photography is these pictures that you see of close up of spiders and all sorts of flowers and insects is what they do is what they call photo stacking, image stacking, where they take a picture and then they add it to another picture and add it to another picture, so that using the tiny depth of field that you get with such a lens is take a sliver of the image and then add it to the next sliver of an image, so you build it up. And I'll put a picture in at the end of what the last picture that I took of a garlic flower close up. That picture took 10 photographs to make, and I'll show you some of the photographs that I took. Now, you can do it one of two ways. You can let your camera do it. Some cameras will actually process the picture in camera, so you end up with a single picture at the end. But this old thing, it's getting on for about 6 years old now, this camera. What it will do is it will take an image, refocus the camera, take a second image, refocus again, and take the third image, and then it will do that until it runs out of images to take pictures of. So you can set this from one picture to 999 photographs at various increments. But you can either do it with this camera and a tripod. So you put the camera on the tripod, and then you take a photograph, and it will take 10 photographs, however many that you want to take a photograph of. Say you might want 30 photographs if you want it really fine. But I've been experimented in the last couple of days. 10's about the best. Maybe 10 or 12 photographs of a flower seems to be about the best way of doing it, really, I've found. So on this particular camera, you have to put it in live view, and then you go into menu 5. I'll just bring up the menu now. I'll just turn it on. Just wait a second while it powers up, and go into live view. So there's now got a picture on the back screen of what you're taking a picture of. Now that opens up separate different menus in your camera. So if you're looking through the viewfinder and you look at the menu, you get different options. But if you're looking through the back screen, you get a different set of options. So if I go into the menu now and I click on the red menu, on this particular camera it's menu page 5, and it gives you this, what they call focus bracketing. Open up the focus bracketing, and it gives you more. That gives you the menu, drop down menu for that part. So click on enable. So that's enabled now. And then the next option down is the number of photographs that you can take. I've actually got mine set to 10. Oh. Yeah, I've got mine set to 10. Focus increments is set to 10 as well. So that means instead of it being very small, there's now quite large chunks of imaging to give you because the last photograph I took was quite deep, with the flowers in the background. I wanted them in focus as well. So that's why it's on number 10. And then exposure smoothing, I've got that enabled as well. So I offer this camera up to the flower. I get it in focus at my nearest point, at the nearest point of the image. Let's come out of the menu. What I do is I move my focusing point on the screen to the nearest, say it's at the bottom, the nearest part of the image is at the bottom of the screen. So I just move my focusing point to there and focus the camera on that point. Then I press the shutter release, and then the camera will take 10 or 12 photographs with varying depth of field. So the focus might start off really close, say up here, and then it gets closer and further away, and that gives you your 10 images. Now I'll just turn this off. Now on your computer, or your, in my case, my iPad, I download all the photographs to my iPad. Then I open up my colorgrade app and I colorgrade each individual photograph. So the first one, I'll colorgrade it, and then I'll save that as a template for the next 9 or 11 photographs that I've taken in that series. And then I'll copy that template across to each one of those photographs. So I've now got 10 or 12 perfectly color graded photographs, all at various different depths of field and different focusing points. I then go into another program called Affinity, and I download all of the 10 or 12 photographs to Affinity, and then I just press a button to process it, and it does its little magic job, and it comes up with an image that you'll see here. So it sounds quite a complicated method of doing it, but the more complicated method of doing it would be to use a slider. You put your slider on top of your tripod, and then you position the camera where you want to take your first picture. Rather than changing any settings on the camera itself, you actually slide the camera forward a couple of millimeters, take a second photograph, move it forward again a couple of millimeters, take another photograph. So you're mechanically moving the camera to give you a different focusing point of the image that you want. And that's quite time consuming, that method of doing it, but you'll end up with the same results almost as me, except of course you'll be getting closer and closer to the image that was at the front of the picture that you were taking. But I prefer this method, I think, than to actually try sliding the camera across. But yeah, it's something you can do at home. You don't have to use an expensive lens to do it on. This one lens I got here was a cheap second-hand lens. It's 105 millimeters. It's a Sigma macro lens, so it means I can get to about that far from the actual thing that I'm looking at, and what will appear on the sensor of the camera is 1-to-1 ratio, which means that it's the same size as the actual image is. So you can get other lenses that are 2 times the actual image size, so it blows up, magnifies whatever you're looking at by ×2 to get you even closer to your subject. But those lenses are thousands and thousands of pounds, whereas mine was £100, I think it was, for that particular lens. Second hand, of course, I don't tend to buy new, but I don't buy from eBay. I did buy an eBay lens a while back, but that was broken. By the time I got it, the postie had kicked it all around the room and kicked it all around the post office, and then threw it in the back of his van, and by the time it got to me it was broken, so I had to send it back. So I learnt my lesson there, is not to buy any lenses off of eBay, because no matter how well it's packaged, it's going to get destroyed by the postie. Yeah, it's not so good. But anyway, I digressed again. But yeah, so that's it basically. You have to check your camera to make sure you've got the focus bracketing, and select that option, and just go out and take some pictures. And Affinity, you get a 7-day trial with that, or otherwise you've got to pay a small fee every month to keep it running. But yeah, I shall endeavour to make the most of my year's subscription to Affinity, and see what pictures I can get. I've had some nice photographs actually of some of the alliums that are growing in my garden, and of course the garlic flower is actually an allium as well. So they're edible versions. So I'm not sure about these alliums here, whether they'll grow, whether they'll be edible or not, I don't know, but I'm not going to try. And of course we do have in our garden, we've got strawberry flowers. But anyway, I'm digressing and off topic as normal. But yeah, okay, catch you all later. Bye then.